I recently spoke to Paul Staples about the differences between scaling product teams, whether you're in a large corporate or a startup or a scale up, and the different challenges and things that may be in common as well that you'll face. Enjoy.
Well, I think it depends on the environment you're actually operating in. I think scaling a product team in a startup is fundamentally different to scaling a product team in a big corporate. Your objectives are often quite different, and your personal motivations are often quite different. I guess the only commonality that you can draw between the two types of environment would be of you have to make sure everyone knows what the mission is first and foremost with the scaling of that team. So when you start with one product manager, you're a three-man band in a garage trying to figure out what the product is and how your business is going to take shape. And then you suddenly get a second one and a third product manager because you're building out. You all know what your common mission is. In a big corporate, that mission can be lost amongst the big group mission that may well be out there. So it's trying to build those moats around you if you're in a big corporate, so everyone can know what that mission is and stick true to it as you build that team out. So mission is absolutely critical, and then having those mission critical metrics behind it actually really helps build the scaling of the product team, right? So everyone broadly familiar with the principle of North Stars and then North Star metrics. That's something that I've always found very, very helpful with the scaling of your product team. Is if everyone knows what they are from the very first day they step into your company, that's the most important thing because they know what they're striving for. Right? If they don't have that there's no guardrails as to behaviors or outcomes that they want to try and achieve. And then you start to break that down into things like value streams. So the most recent organization I was part of, they didn't have value streams. And as a consequence of that, their definition of a product manager was just someone who looked after a bit of P&L of a business. They didn't actually understand feature functions. They didn't understand customer experience. They didn't understand analytics. They didn't understand engineering. So as a consequence of that, actually, by moving him into a value stream alignment, you had to reset your entire product organization, the skills and everything, which meant your scaling of that product organization almost went on hold for quite a while until you reset the right skills. But then when you build that value stream, and we did this around product ops and tech, those three key areas, that if you drew a Venn diagram, everyone had an equal seat at the table. And they all overlapped. Everyone had to be competent in each other's field. Okay, I'm not expecting everyone to code, and I'm not expecting everyone to do operations, and not expecting everyone to do roadmaps, but you all respected each other's decisions and why you came up with it. And every product manager that then came in was either part of the core value stream or knew they were a sub-value stream. And then they knew they rolled up into the main value stream and what the objectives of that value stream were aligned to the North Star. So you start to see this traceability all the way through. And that's generally how I've liked to try and look at how we scale product teams in particular. Even in a startup, you need to start to think about that for the future. You don't want to get distracted with it too soon. But you do want to think about, okay, if I've got three discrete feature functions in my product, over time you're probably going to be looking at having 3 or 4 different product managers, looking after each feature function set and really going deep into it. So the scaling is slightly different, but it all has traceability, coming back to a North Star. I think the motivation's an interesting one though, right? So you touched on that in the introduction to your question there. A product manager motivated in a startup is going to be motivated by growth. I'm part of a young company, I'm growing it, I'm going to see some massive upside hopefully if I get this right. In a big corporate, it's much more political, arguably, because if you're a progressive product manager and you want to continue your career, you want to work on bigger products, you want to work on larger P&Ls, but you don't necessarily get the reward because the compensation structures are materially different. You're not really going to get equity in a new product you build in a big corporate. You're going to get maybe a nice pat on the back at the end of the year, and because of bonus structures are all tiered at grades, regardless of your function, arguably, you just get the same bonus structure. So your motivation has to be different, but your opportunities are also different. So you may have bigger budgets to play with in a big corporate. You may have different technologies that are quickly accessible, or some could argue slower to access sometimes because of procurement. But you have different sets of opportunities in either side of the table. And as a scale up in product teams, you've got to figure out the motivation of the individual coming into the team first and foremost. Because if you get that bit wrong, your product team is ultimately doomed to failure.